Welcome to another installment of this Mental Toughness podcast series. This is Matt Phillips, the founder of Pro Athlete Advantage, and I am so excited to have you listen to this interview that I did with Ruben Gonzalez. Ruben is a four-time Olympian in the sport of luge. He is the only person to have competed in 4 different Olympics in 4 different decades, and at the age of 55 now, he is actually going for his 5th Olympics, which, when he makes it, not if, he will be the oldest person to have competed in the Winter Olympics because he will be 59 at that point. So just an awesome individual, one of the most mentally tough people that I know, and I have had the pleasure of getting to know over the past 5+ years at this point. He is just awesome. I get to have coffees with him. I get to speak on the phone with him and just continually download information from him, not only about the mental side of athletics and business, but he now travels the world speaking and inspiring audiences at different companies and associations literally around the world. So I am just honored to have him in my life. Ruben and I actually published a book together a number of years ago. It's called Discovery: How to Become a Champion in Business and Life. And Ruben has a number of different books as well, including The Courage to Succeed, The Inner Game of Success, and actually wrote one with his daughter as well called Dream, Struggle, Victory, and I'll have links to all that in the notes to this podcast, of course. But Ruben is just an incredible individual. A little bit about his story. At age 21, he decided that he wanted to go to the Olympics, but didn't have a sport. It's a little late to get started. I think you would agree with me on that. So he started researching different sports, summer games, winter games, and the sport that he finally settled on was luge. And the only reason he picked luge was that he knew that it's like 9 out of 10 people quit within just a couple weeks because of pure fear and broken bones. And he knew that he could persevere through that. So he sent a letter off to Sports Illustrated, because this was before internet days. He sent a letter off to Sports Illustrated asking where should he train for the Olympics. And they actually wrote him back and said he needed to go to Lake Placid, New York. So he went to Lake Placid, New York, started training, and almost like 4 years to the day, he was standing in the Olympics representing Argentina. Just a fabulous, inspiring story, and he's continued to go to all these Olympics, where now he's going for his 5th, which he'd be his 5th Olympics in 5 different decades. Just absolutely incredible. As I said, now Ruben travels the world speaking, telling his story, inspiring audiences in a variety of different countries. And I'll have links to, obviously his website and stuff. It's forwintergames.com. You're going to hear in the podcast that we mentioned rubentips.com, where you can get some articles that he's written on the mental side of luge and what it's like now sledding at the age of 55 and how he's improved from there. So this podcast, we talk about a variety of different topics. We're talking about trusting our coaches, being consistently good, visualizing scenarios, anticipating scenarios, different routines, controlling tempo, having fun, staying emotionally in control. I mean, this guy, right, Ruben has lived it. He has been at the peak of sports, and he continues to do that to this day. And you're going to learn a tremendous amount from Ruben Gonzalez. Enjoy this interview. I know you will. And, I tell you every time in these podcasts, get out your pen and paper. This is one you're really going to want to, especially as we get towards the end of this podcast, and he goes through how he defines mental toughness, the key elements to that. Enjoy this one, and can't wait to hear and read comments that you have about Ruben Gonzalez.
Ruben, good to be with you again. I am honored every time I get to spend time with you, so thank you so much again for taking your time and being with me on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's you understand these principles because you've lived them, so it's always great to actually do a podcast or an interview with somebody that's, same mindset.
Absolutely. And, for those of you who listened, in the kind of when I introduced Ruben, I've been honored to get to know him and call him a mentor and get to pick his brain. And he's been kind enough over the years now, which is crazy to think, Ruben, it's been years, to help just prepare me as I've grown my business as well. So I'm always very, very thankful for our time together. And, your background is very, very unique in that you are obviously one of, the only person in history to have been to 4 different Winter Olympics in 4 different decades. And you are now going on for your 5th Olympics, which you'll be, when you make it, not if, but when you make the next Winter Olympics, you'll be competing at 59 years old, which will be a record. And that's just incredible. And let me ask you right at the start, right? What is motivating you to go for this 5th Olympics? What's the drive?
I get bored easy. That's the drive, really. I'm very ADD, and I need a challenge. I need to have something exciting going on, and I have this 7-year itch, and mine's a little different than other guys' 7-year itch. But I'll do an Olympics, and then I get bored. I want to try something different, climb a mountain, or do something different. And then after 7 years, I get bored, and I get this restlessness, and I got to do something new. And so I've had. I just came out of my 3rd 7-year break. I mean, a total break of not a single luge run. I'm like the Brett Favre of luge. Right. And in October, this last October, I went to Calgary after not sliding since the 2010 Olympics, just to test it, right? I thought, I want to see if this whole body can still handle it, right? I'm 55. And I was sliding better than ever. I mean, I was actually listening to the coaches, and I had put myself in a mental state where I almost burned the bridges, right? It's like at my age, I better listen to the coaches because I don't have much room for error. Right. And so I was trusting them a lot more than ever before. And they said I still need to work on trusting myself, right? It says you got the goods, you just got to trust yourself, right? But I passed the test, and so then a couple of months later, they had a World Cup race there in Calgary, and it's where everybody that you just saw at the Olympics in Pyeongchang, all those guys were fighting for those last couple of slots to try to qualify. And I went, and you had to qualify for this race. And sleds have gotten a lot faster in the last 7 years, and I was sliding on this old clunker 25-year-old sled, but I was able to qualify. I had to break my personal best at that track just to qualify because everybody's gotten so much faster, but I did it. And a couple of guys that have been in the circuit didn't qualify. So, that was all mental toughness stuff, kind of setting a goal and getting focused and getting the job done. But the coaches are telling me that, one of them, he's a 3-time Olympian from Latvia, and another one is a U.S. Olympian from the Lillehammer Olympics. And they both said, look, as long as you stay healthy, as long as you don't break anything, because things don't heal very fast when you're old, but you got a shot, and so we have a game plan, and it's a matter of following the game plan and staying healthy. And like I said before, getting the job done. And when I do it, I'll be the oldest ever, and I'll be the only person to do 5 Winter Olympics, each in a different decade. I mean, that's crazy. Maybe I can get Geritol and Depends diapers to sponsor me.
Exactly. For you Depends folks listening today, hey, we need a sponsorship here.
Yeah.
So there's so much to unpack in this, and one thing that I think is just fascinating about your story, and it speaks to just how you worded that statement just a few minutes ago, but it really goes back to your start in the sport of luge. And what I don't think a lot of people know your story, and I want to kind of share it with everyone, is how you got into luge in the first place, because that's a unique sport that is typically, from what I understand, dominated by kind of, European, kind of Eastern European, typically. Americans are obviously kind of coming, they've done pretty well as well, but can you share with us just in a minute or two, like how you even stumbled upon the sport of luge? Because you were a soccer player back in the day.
Well, I was always the last kid picked for PE in school. I'm all slow twitch fiber. I'm a slow poke. I got a lot of heart, but no, I don't have those super genes. Mm-hmm. And I always wanted to be in the Olympics, but it was a pipe dream. And when I when I was 21, I was watching the Sarajevo Winter Olympics on TV, and I see Scott Hamilton win the gold medal in figure skating. He's about 5 feet tall, and he gave me hope. I thought, if that little guy can do it, I can too. And all of a sudden, I had the belief. Before I had the desire, but you got to have the belief. The belief gets you into the game. The desire keeps you in the game, right? It keeps you from quitting. And so I made a decision, and success is a decision, you know? It's not, I hope I succeed. No, success is, hey, you draw a line in the sand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to get the job done. No excuses. And so I decided, and so I went to the library, researched what sports I could do, and my nickname was Bulldog in high school because I was very perseverant, tenacious. So I thought, after a while, I got to find a sport with a lot of broken bones, maybe be a lot of quitters who won't quit, right? That'll work into my strength. And so I had it down to ski jump, bobsled, and luge. I lived in Houston, Texas, hot, humid, flat, sticky Houston, Texas. I'd never skied before. So ski jump, that would have been suicide. Forget that. Bobsled, where are you going to find 3 other nuts in Houston who want to do the bobsled, right? You got to go to Jamaica for that.
Exactly.
So I left the luge. I'd never seen it on TV at that point in my life. If I had seen it, there's no way I was going to do that. It's too crazy. But I had a picture of a guy on a luge. I thought that looks pretty tough. That's the one for me. I wrote Sports Illustrated a letter, asked them, where do you go learn how to luge? Because I didn't know where the track was. They said Lake Placid, New York. And I called them up and got myself into a beginner program. At first, they wouldn't take me. They said, you're 21. You should have 10 years experience. By now, there's no way. And I wouldn't take no for an answer, right? When somebody tells you no, you just ran to somebody that doesn't believe as much as you do, or somebody that doesn't have the decision power to say yes, right? Maybe they hired this guy yesterday, and he's just answering the phones. And so finally I went, and 4 years and a few broken bones later, I'm in the Calgary Olympics, top 50 in the world. And so if you want something badly enough, and if you're willing to do it, and you surround yourself with the right coaches, right? Because you can't do it by yourself. I thought I could do it all by myself, and boy, did I learn. You can do things quickly by yourself. You can do it a lot quicker by yourself, but you can go a lot further if you're part of a team. And I'm, me, I'm a maverick. I like doing things on my own, and I have to work hard to be part of a team. But I've come to learn that it's a secret weapon. Can't do it without a team.
So this is fascinating to me because going back to a statement you made right at the beginning, you said this time around, going for Olympics number 5, you are now listening to the coaches more than you ever have before and trusting them. And you told me a story a while ago when we were talking just on the phone about how you cut down your handles, if I'm remembering right, just to have your 2 fingers on it, right? So you can explain it better to me, but obviously you're holding handles to steer, right, on the sled. But you cut them short so you only have 2 fingers, so you're not gripping it so hard. You're not, I know there's a story about you about bending them one time because you were so like hyped up and ramped up. And so what do you think, has attributed to you, like listening to these coaches so much more this time and trusting them, whereas you look back to your first Olympics or second where you still trusted them, right? But what do you think has led to that transition? Because I think it's something we all struggle with. Like we get advice and we want to, we contemplate, is it good or is it bad? What should I do with it? What kind of made that switch for you? Because obviously different coaches now.
Right. Well, number one, you have to have your coach or mentor needs to have fruit on the trees. That means they've done it, right? It can't be a theorist. It can't be somebody that just talks about it. It can't be a guy that's a PhD on something, but he never did it. That guy, no way, right?
Yes.
It's got to be somebody that did it. So my coaches now, Guntis, he's from Latvia, 3-time Olympian, really good, always in the top 15, top 20. And then Jonathan Edwards, he was number 4 in Lillehammer. Okay. And my coaches before were great too, though. My coach for a long time was an Austrian guy. His name was Günther, and he was 4-time world champion or 3-time world champion. And so these guys had the goods, but now I think I'm older and wiser, and I understand that, hey, this is a sport that's measured to the 1/1000th of a second, and everything counts. In fact, when I qualified for this race in December, and this World Cup race in Calgary, I qualified by 4/100th of a second. I mean, that's a blink.
Wow. Yes.
It's nothing, right? And so But one of the things they said is, hey, you need a new sled. I mean, that old clunker of yours, that's not even safe, right?
Right.
New sled, you'll be a second faster, and that alone will make it better. But they said you need to relax more. Coaches have been telling me to relax forever, but they never taught me how to relax, right? Until Jonathan Edwards, he did teach me how to relax. But one of the things, going back to the handles in a luge sled are just two pieces of rebar that are bent and welded onto this metal part of the sled, and you hold on. And I always held on. If you can imagine just making a fist and you're holding on with those four fingers, right? And you have a piece of rebar that goes across four fingers, and you're holding on. And man, you're holding on tight, right? When you're scared half to death.
Right.
I've gotten to the bottom of a run and I had bent it. I mean, it's like a little granny picking up a car to save a baby, right? Crazy. So when I was laying down, Guntis, he said, hey, you're not holding the handles right. And I thought, this is the way I've always held them. No one had ever taught me different, right? And Guntis said, no, you hold them like a pistol, okay? Make your fingers like a pistol where you're bending down the two bottom ones and your index and your middle finger are pointing like a pistol, and you're just holding on with the bottom fingers. And that will relax your forearms, which will relax your upper arms, which will relax your chest, and you'll be more relaxed overall just by holding them that way. And you'll go faster, right? Because you're relaxed and you have better reaction time. And so I said, well, and I tried, right? And he said, okay, sit on the sled like you're at the start and lay down on the sled, right? And I laid down, and boy, my hands, muscle memory, I'd go back to holding them with all four fingers.
Yes.
And I did it a couple of times. He goes, okay, get off that sled. And he got a grinder, and he just cut the handles. I thought, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to fix it so you can't mess up.
That's great.
These are about action. They don't ask. They're not politically correct, okay? They get it done.
Right.
And cut them both, and boy, now I got no choice, and it's so much better. Just that little thing, Another thing is, I was wearing this Slovakian guy had told me years ago, because you're at the start, you're always it's really hard on your lower back because it's like doing a deadlift.
Okay.
And a lot of people have disc problems because of that. And we said, wear one of these belts, right? The Velcro belts that weightlifters use, and put it on real tight. That'll protect your back when you're sliding. And I liked it. It felt good, right? You felt harder and stronger when you were wearing it. And I'd used that belt for 4 years. Well, Jonathan saw that, and he said, no, take it off. That thing's making you too tense. And I didn't think twice. I said, Jonathan says, take it off, it's off. If Jonathan says, cut off, shave my head and wear a lipstick, it'll make you go faster, done, right? I've gotten to that point where I trust these guys. They got the goods, and they're looking out for me. And it's just an attitude that, hey, I'm going to do what they say because they know. Who am I?
Right. Well, there's a couple of things in there, right? Is that humility, right? To say that, I need to listen. I need to be open. I need to do these things and see what the outcome is. And the other thing I really picked up on, and I see this a lot especially in corporate America, and I see this in sports as well, honestly, is that a lot of times, bosses or coaches or whatever will just, tell you to relax. In your case, just relax. And what I find fascinating is when I hear you say just relax, right? I think of work hard. You just need to work harder, or you need to be a better leader. And from a coaching perspective or mentorship perspective, I think that's so detrimental to those athletes or those employees, because what does that mean? I have no idea how to do it.
Yeah, it's adding pressure because they're not teaching me how to relax.
Yes.
I mean, for about 25 years, I had coaches tell me, Ruben, you must relax, right? Because I get to the bottom of the track and I'm stiff like a board.
Yeah.
But nobody told me how to relax, right? And then Jonathan, right before the, about a year and a half, 2 years before the Vancouver Olympics, he said, Ruben, what's happening? What's going on in your head when you're sliding? And he says, man, as I see those walls going faster and faster, I get tighter and tighter. And by the time I'm at the bottom, I'm stiff like a board. I'm scared to death. And he said, hey, luge is not about speed, okay? Luge is about who has the best time at the finish. You could be clocked the fastest guy on that day, but if you crash, you lost the race, okay? Mm-hmm. And so he said, from now on, you have to put on blinders. Don't look at those walls. Just focus on a spot about 30 feet in front of you, but not at the walls. And if you can get yourself to stop focusing on the speed, then if you shift your focus, the whole experience will change and the fear will go away. And I trust them. And that night I visualized about 100 runs where I had the blinders on. The next day on my next run, and this is at the fastest track in the world, 95 miles an hour, I took a run and the fear disappeared overnight. It wasn't gradual. It was, when I shifted the focus, the experience changed. And what are people focusing on today? They focus on the economy, right? Yeah. Oh, I can't make any sales, I can't do anything in the economy, blah, blah, blah. They're reading the newspaper and watching the news, right? And that's getting them down. Mm-hmm. Well, the economy's there for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So don't focus on that, Stop reading the news, buy your competition some USA Today subscriptions, and, man, call everybody because you can control who you can talk to in the next 10 minutes, what relationships you can strengthen, and you can position yourself that when things start getting better, then you'll be so far ahead because you'll have strong relationships and everybody will be buying from you. And bad economy is a good thing, man. It's a shakeup. The tough guys are going to win. You know that.
You bet. You bet.
It's a good thing.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and for you coaches out there, teach by doing, teach by explaining, teach by showing like how this works. I think that's the never ever, please never use the words again like just relax or work harder or be a better leader. If you use those phrases, please explain what you mean and get specific so people can implement the action. Cut the rebar. We'll put it that way. Cut the rebar on their leadership.
That's right. Yeah, watch if you. I don't know how long it's been since you've seen the movie Patton, but Shoot the Mule. You remember that part when they have to cross this bridge over this, it's this bridge. The only way to cross this this cliff is through a bridge, and there's a line of tanks and jeeps and stuff, U.S.
Yes.
Army stuff, all blocked up because there's this guy on top of the bridge with a cart and the mule, right? And Patton, he doesn't ask, he just gets it done, right? He runs up, starts yelling and cursing like crazy. What's going on? What's holding this up? We got to go fight these Germans, right?
Yeah.
And they say, it's this mule that won't move. He just pulls his gun out, shoots the mule in the head, and throws it over the side, and the column keeps moving. So you got to shoot the mule, baby.
Leadership in action right there. I love it.
Yeah.
What is it like, Ruben, when you're just, a couple minutes out from heading down the track to that time where you're sitting on the sled and you do the pull and off you go? What is that like mentally? What's going through your head? What's not going through your head? Just what is that experience like for those who've never done it before?
About 10 minutes before your run. And everybody, there's a start order, and it's kind of like in baseball, right? You have the pitching or the batting order, so you know when you're going to go. And about 10 minutes out, you already have your visors already. Your visor has already been. We put this anti-fog stuff on it. It's ready to go, and I've already put on my gloves and I got my helmet on, and I'm ready to go. And I'll take about 3 or 4 runs in my mind, right? Just visualizing them. And now usually when I'm visualizing runs, you visualize escape routes as well, okay? So what am I going to do if I'm late into curve 1? What am I going to do if I'm early into curve 1? What am I going to do if I'm just right? What am I going to do if and you do that on every curve, contingency plans, right? So you know that anything that can happen, you got to plan for it. That's how you usually visualize, right? You're visualizing everything that could happen. But these last few ones before you're actually going to go, you're visualizing the perfect run, right? And you do it at the same speed, right? When you visualize, it has to be at the same speed. In fact, one of my coaches used to lay us all down on the ground and say, okay, close your eyes. Okay, when I say go, we're going to do, I'll say the name of a track, and that means start, okay? And he'll say Calgary. And he starts his stopwatch, right? And he says, open up your eyes when you cross the finish line. And we better be within, less than a half a second off the normal time, or else he gets on our case, right? So we've learned to visualize. I can take a luge run anywhere in the world and it's, I don't know how it is, but I can tell you within a tenth of a second what my time was. And I'm always right. And that's not just me, everybody's like that. And so you visualize a few. You just close your eyes and you're taking your run in your mind and you're going through it. Now about 3 minutes out, you're standing. You're still inside, and you're waiting for. There's two guys. There's one guy sitting on the sled. There's two guys in front of you, and there's a guy standing behind him who's going to go right before you. Now, as soon as that there's two out there, then you walk outside and they weigh you. This is on a race day, okay? They weigh you. They want to make sure that you're legal.
Okay.
And they test the temperature of the steels to make sure that you didn't heat your steels. And if you time it just right, you're going to be up there for about maybe 3 minutes, which is less chance that your visor is going to fog. You have it on your arm. And now by this time, the guy in front of me, he's already sitting in the sled, and he goes, right? As soon as he goes, then I put my sled down, and coach, this is on a race day, not on a training day. Coach, because usually coach would be down at the track waiting to see us, go by. But now he's a helper. And so he doesn't say a word. He just looks at me. And we make eye contact for an instant. He kind of nods his head. It's like, basically telling me, you're ready, baby. He's not saying good luck, whatever, do your best, nothing. It's all eye contact at this point.
Yes.
And then I sit down. He cleans off if there's a little bit of snow in front of my sled. He cleans the cowling just to, because everything counts. And then he'll give me a little pat in the shoulder, and he moves off. And then track is, and I'll take a couple of deep breaths. Visor goes down, grip the handles, and I'll do a couple of moves just to like half start moves just to get myself, muscle memory.
Yes. And
then track is clear for Ruben Gonzalez, and the clock starts. And you got 30 seconds, and you have to break the light at the start within 30 seconds, or you're disqualified. Right? If you're late, no excuse. Right? And so, and so it starts clicking, and then you just pull and you paddle and you lay down, settle in the sled, and you work that plan, right? And when you get to the bottom, you know what your time was, and you know where you messed up, and you get ready to do it again. You go back to the top, and that's how it is. And so you've been working at it. At the Olympics, you do 2 runs one day and 2 runs the next day, and it's cumulative. It's like golf, okay?
Yes.
You can be beating the track record 3 out of the 4 runs and blow it on the last one. So being good is not good enough. You have to be consistently good, right? And that's being a professional, I remember the first time I had a clean run. This was after about 2.5 years of luging. I had my first clean run, which means that I didn't hit any walls, right? Yeah. And I was so excited, and it's not necessarily that you were fast, but you didn't hit any walls, right? So it's such a boost of confidence. It's like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this.
Yes.
And I get to the bottom, and I would tell coach, man, I had a clean run. And he didn't even congratulate me. He said, good, now you know it's possible. Now you got to, but that was good, but you have to be consistently good. Otherwise, you're no good.
Yes.
Yeah. The best thing coach has ever told me, now this guy, world champion 3 times, okay? Best compliment I ever got from him was, Ruben, that was not so bad. When he says, Ruben, that was not so bad, it's party time, okay? Because my best run ever is very mediocre in his eyes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Were you this will sound like an odd question, but were you a coffee drinker when you were at the Olympics? Because I imagine. Were you? Okay. Because I imagine, Ruben, all you have to do is sit on that sled, and your adrenaline probably just pops through the roof, I would imagine. Oh, yeah. So I don't know if there's much need for coffee.
Coffee's good. Coffee's good for you, obviously, because you can, you're amped up. You can see better. You're more focused, right? But you can't overdo it. And in fact, one of the things they test for in the Olympics, if you had more than 4 cups of coffee, you're going to probably test too high on caffeine, and you'll be disqualified for drugs. So you have to,
I had no idea.
Take it easy. But I just drink coffee because I like it. I mean, at the Salt Lake City Olympics, I had this thing. After my race was over, I'd go get a 4-shot espresso because they had a little Starbucks. It wasn't really Starbucks, but it was kind of like that.
Right.
And then I'd go get a massage because they had free massages. And then I'd go watch some guys ski or whatever, and then I'd come back, eat lunch, and another 4-shot espresso. And I had about 12 shots a day. And one day, about 10 days into it, by then I knew all the coffee, all the baristas. They says, there's this Hungarian guy, the record's a 6-shot espresso. I said, okay, if you promise not to tell him, I'll have an 8 right now, okay? And so I had one, but I got sick. But I'm sure I told him. It's probably up to 10 by now. But,
Yeah, exactly. The high performers keep
everybody's
pushing the
competitive.
limits.
I mean, if they had said, it's a 20 shot espresso, man, no brainer. I'll do 21 right now. I mean, it's
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Love our coffee, man. So let me, because you're one thing I really like about you and admire about you, and frankly, it's a story I tell all the time about you. As a matter of fact, I told it just yesterday, and you're very good. I admire you on just being able to set goals and stick to them, and chunk them in a way and see them in a way where you look at them and you're like, that's achievable. I can do that. And the story, real quick, I'll tell about you because I want to dive into kind of where this came from and how you kind of set up your goals when you're trying to achieve them. Just what you do now and this plan you built out for the next Olympics. But the very first time we met, the advice you gave me was to write a book, and it was one of those things that when you said it to me, because your whole advice, and for anyone out there that wants to become a speaker, it's you have to create something of value to sell or give away or position yourself as kind of an expert in a certain field. And you'd give me that advice. You said, Matt, you need to write a book, and if you pull it off, I'll add some pieces to it, and we'll publish a book. And I remember sitting at that coffee across from you, and I came up with every excuse in the book, which you and I've talked about before. I was talking about how doesn't it take like 2 years to write a book, and who's going to edit it, and I don't even know how to find a publisher, and do you handwrite it or type it? I mean, I was coming up with everything. And I remember you looked at me, and at that time I had shown you this list of like 10 themes for this nonprofit that I run that are different issues that athletes go through. And I had shown you that, and you were gracious enough to interview for that athlete nonprofit. Like, this is probably 5 years ago. And as soon as I started coming up with those excuses, you looked at me and you go, Matt, can you write an article? And I go, like, what do you mean? You're like, newspaper article, magazine article, can you write an article? And I say, yeah, Ruben, anybody can write an article. And you took that piece of paper with the 10 themes written on it or typed on it, and you turned it around, slid it back in front of me, and you go, can you write 10 articles? And I said, yes, Ruben, I can write 10 articles. And you said, good. Get it together, write your article, send it to me, I'll add my piece, we'll publish a book. And I actually did it.
Yeah, you actually did it. I have that meeting I'd say about 3 times a year with different speakers that, they'll find me, new speakers, and they want to take me out to coffee to ask me advice. And I've had you and one other person actually did it. So that says a lot about you, man.
Well, I'm just blessed to have you around giving me advice like that. And I like you. It's like when I get advice, I want to take advantage of it, right? I don't want people to waste their time when they give good advice. And it was so fascinating to me, and I want everyone to know, like, from a goal-setting perspective, like Ruben, what he did for me was take something so overwhelming, and he framed it in a way that I knew I could achieve that. I knew I could because he simplified it in such a way. And I'm always grateful for that because now we're 5.5 years later, and business is going well, and it's awesome.
In Polish, too.
And it's translated in Polish. I mean, who would have thought, right? I mean, come on. So
yeah.
How, as you look at goal setting, do you kind of integrate this chunking mentality and simplifying mentality in kind of everything you do? I mean, how did you kind of come to give advice like that? It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, that advice was given to me when I got started. So I just was teaching you what I learned. And I think that's what we all do. We're just passing the torch. I mean, it's funny. We read sometimes I'll be speaking at maybe a sales kickoff or something, and they're trying to get the salesman to, read some more personal development books and work on themselves, right? Because the better you are, the better business is going to be, right? Okay. And so I tell them how, hey guys, look, I'm a personal development junkie. I mean, I love reading that stuff, because it's, a book is such a good bargain. A nonfiction personal development book is not a novel, but because you got this person. Pretty much everything that they learn in their life, they put it in that book, and you can get it for $20. I mean, that's a great deal. And so you can go to the library and get it for free, And it's funny, I'll read this book, And then it references some book that was written 50 years before, and it references another one that was 50 years before. And I'm just intrigued, right? I don't want to miss anything, so I keep reading them. But you know what happens at the end? They all started in Proverbs, the Bible.
Oh. That's hilarious.
But it's all the same stuff. But anyways, when I got started, I met with a guy. I tried to do this on my own for 6 months, and I was on food stamps, doing the speaking business. I mean, I could speak, but I didn't know how to run a business. And I met this guy that had been in business for 12 years. He was very successful. And he said, Ruben, I don't care if you're a 10-time Olympian, unless you write a book, no one's going to take you seriously. Because an author is considered the authority of his subject. He wrote the book on it. It'll open up doors. It's a business card nobody throws away. By then I'm thinking, okay, this guy must have a publishing company, all right? Why is he going on and on about the book? And I told him, I can't write a book, man. I made C's in English. And he said, you got a great story. You write your story. We give it to some A students. They clean it up for you. That's just grammar. And I thought, wow, I didn't think about that. He goes, yeah, it's called editing, okay? So shut up and sit down. So my mentor was a lot meaner than I am. I did that, And it's true, my grammar was lousy, but that was just a little bit of it, right?
Yes.
And it goes back to that team thing. And so we all have, and I think everybody's got a book in them. I mean, everybody's lived a life where they've actually, didn't just, striven, right, to do something with their life. They've learned some stuff and they can share it. You don't have to be president of the United States to write a book.
Yes, that's so true. And I'm a testament to that as well, just because now I'm starting to write my second book. I've published a book now with you, a mental toughness workbook. I'm now probably about, honestly, 15% into the next book, so still a ways to go.
Awesome.
But looking at it just way differently than I ever have before, based on chunking it down. I think that's such a key leadership perspective, leading ourselves first, right? But let alone leading a team. Again, it's, how do you take something overwhelming and say it in
and it's
such
like
a
this
way?
podcast, if you think, oh my gosh, I could never be like Tim Ferriss. I mean, he's got like 900 podcasts, I can't do that. I don't know so many people. Well, he probably got to 900, but he did them one at a time, just like this one.
Yes.
So you just keep doing them. Eventually, in a couple of years, there could be somebody else saying, oh my gosh, I could never be like Matt Phillips. You've got so many podcasts. Where did you find these people? Well,
Right.
he just did them one at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You chunk it down, and it's funny when we're working on our sleds. We're every night we spend 45 minutes to an hour going through all these different grits of sandpaper to take all of the scratches right off of our steels, all the nicks right that we got earlier that day, and we're spending hours just stroking those steels with the sandpaper, and then on Friday night before the race we go through about 5 grades of diamond paste, right, to where you can look at yourself in the steels. But with every stroke, one stroke at a time, you're going faster, and you're doing a couple of things. You're making your sled faster, but you're also making yourself stronger, because deep inside you start thinking, man, maybe I'm doing more than those Germans this week. Maybe I can beat them this time, right? And if you're a salesman, it's one call at a time, one phone call at a time. You're building a business, right? And if you have a store, it's one customer at a time. And if you're a builder, it's one brick at a time. You're building a house. And if you're climbing Kilimanjaro, like we did a few years ago, it's one step at a time. But if you follow a good guide, you get to the top, So everything's like that. Everything's like that. So a diet, one day at a time, It's everything. It's like that. I like to keep things simple.
No, yeah. I think that's why you and I get along. We're two simple people, just figuring things out. And I was talking just this morning actually about the compounding effect, right? A lot of small things done consistently over a long period of time, it adds up to massive results. I don't care if you're talking about financial investments that you're in with a little bit of interest, or eating the right way, or kind of going after your goal, whatever that is.
Yeah. And some famous Roman guy that I can't remember his name said, don't despise the bottom rungs of a ladder, right? Because you need the bottom rungs to get to the top rungs, right? And just last week I was in Springfield, Missouri, And that's where Bass Pro Shop started. If you ever go there, that is the man. That their store is as big as a mall. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
The NRA Museum is there, National Rifle Association. Sure. Incredible, just incredible. But they've actually taken the original store, the storefront, and about half of it, and they put it in there as a display. And it's smaller than a 7-Eleven. It's probably a quarter of the size of a 7-Eleven. But that was the original Bass Pro Shop in 1971, and look at them now, right? I got so excited, I took a picture of it and I put it up on my Facebook. So you see a picture of it. It's nothing. It's nothing.
That's amazing.
But it's something now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I know you've got a tenacious fire inside you, and thus the Olympics number 5, and I know for sure that, as we were talking just right before this call, that it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, and we know the when's going to happen, and it's just a little under 4 years from now, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, no, it's going to be cool, and
that's fabulous. And I know. I could talk to you all day, Ruben. I want to be obviously very cognizant of your time and what you have to get to next. So let me make sure we kind of wrap up now, and I thank you so much for it. But before we go, and obviously everyone will have links to all this stuff down in the podcast and interview notes, so you can check out. But I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you connect with Ruben. He's got multiple books like The Courage to Succeed, The Inner Game of Success, Fight for Your Dream. He and his daughter also published one, which I think is phenomenal, called Dream, Struggle, Victory. Just again, to Ruben's point, success leaves clues, and he's done a fabulous job of telling his story, and his daughter did a fabulous job of telling her story, and others as well, and how their kind of road to victory and adversity they faced and how they overcame it. So just a ton of knowledge there. But Ruben, if you want people to connect with you, what's kind of the best way for them?
Let's give some people some stuff, okay? And I'm not going to sell you anything, okay? So you can put your wallet away. If you'll go to Ruben, RUBEN, Ruben Tips, right? TIPS, RubenTips.com. I got a bunch of articles there that you can just click on them, and they're PDFs. You can actually print them, and if you have employees, you can print them and pass them out. And if you like them, that's kind of like a sample of what you can get once a month if you just sign up for the newsletter. But why sign up? Just test them out first, right? And I got a date before you get married, right? So there's a place where you can actually watch videos of my talks, but a bunch of free stuff. And then if you really like it, great, get some books, invest, but you don't have to. So it's RubenTips.com, and there's a lot of cool stuff. If you know somebody, this is how you can help me. If you know somebody, if you're in an association, you watch some of those videos on my website and you really like them, you say, man, this guy's funny, but he also teaches you stuff and he's cool, and wow. If that's what you think, right? Yep. And you're a member of an association, tell the president, about me, right? And tell the person, their meeting planner and stuff. Or at work, if you're in sales, tell your manager, hey, next year when we have this our annual sales meeting, we ought to bring this guy. He's really good. He speaks all over the world. Check out his videos. Man, I'd rather you do that than buy all my books.
Right.
That will pay for a ton of books.
I love it.
But that way you get what you need, and you might even be able to help me out too. But that'd be great. And do we have Matt, do we have a few minutes where I can tell him some quick tips on mental toughness?
Oh, absolutely, man. Please.
Yeah. And I'll just do some quick ones because I wrote this article. This is right out of an article that you'll find in RubenTips.com, but it's a mental toughness one, and I've got some tips. And one of them is, on game day, forget your goals, okay? Forget your goals. One thing that I'm not thinking about when I'm up at the top of the luge track is I'm gonna beat so and so, or I'm in the Olympics, I gotta do really well. Man, if I think that, then I'm gonna tighten up. That's no good. You can't control the outcome. All you can control is how well you can do. The results will take care of themselves. So you just focus on what you can on doing your best, right? So Forget your goals. Right? It doesn't mean that you don't care. It means that you care so much you can forget them for a little bit, right? Focus on the present, okay? Here's another one. Focus on what you need to do right now. Focus on what you can control, okay? So you can't control the economy, but you can sure control who you can call in the next 10 minutes, right? Maybe a prospect, maybe one of your clients, just to say, hey, how's everything going, right?
Yes.
So focus on what you can do right now. And here's another one. Monitor your emotional level, okay? Think of your emotions. This is what athletes do, okay? And if you watched any tennis on TV, you'll see it right away. The emotions, you have to think of them as an engine that's revving up in a race car, okay? Mm-hmm. If you're at 1 through 4, that means you're just idling, right? It's too slow, right?
Yes.
That means you don't care. 7, if your emotions are like at a 7, that means you're running nice and fast and smooth. And now if you get into 8 and 9, that means you're starting to redline. That's too much, right? And if you're 10, you just blow your engine, right? And so every professional athlete has this we're really good about gauging where we are. It's like we have this the chronometer, right? Is it chronometer? No, what's the thing that measures the revs in a car? Oh my gosh. Anyway.
I have no idea. I'm worthless to you right now.
So like when I'm playing somebody ping pong, I can tell. You want to keep your emotions at about a 7. If you're if I'm getting too tight for some reason, then I'll say things like, "Hey, relax, start breathing deep." You just try to loosen up your hands, do things like that, right? They tell sprinters to run with a loose jaw and loose hands for that reason, because if you tighten up, you can't be fast. Now, if I'm winning a lot of points and I start getting too loose, right, like I could get too lackadaisical, and that's just as bad, right? So if I feel that happening, I'm making some dumb mistakes because I'm too loose. Oh, tighten up, focus, right? And I'll make a fist and pump it, right? And that kind of gets myself get myself back up to that 7. And so we're constantly doing that, okay? In the luge, you always hear guys talking about the biathlon where you have to go super fast because when you're skiing, but then you got to slow down your heartbeat when you're going to shoot so you can focus and shoot. Yes. But then you got to rev it. Well, the luge is the same way. We're going 90 miles an hour at the start, which is an all-power moment. But then when you lay down, you have to be super relaxed and smooth and breathe. They teach us to exhale at the entrance and exit of every curve so that we can be smooth. And so by learning, you can actually practice this, okay? Biathlete, anybody can do it. They make it sound like biathletes are like these super people that can control their heart rate. Well, anybody can do it, okay? I mean, when I go to the doctor and they're going to take my heart rate, I start making really slow, deep breaths. That way it always looks good.
I love it.
So you can do that, right? And so the breathing is really important. And you have to have a winning routine. Like before you're going to make those sales calls, you got to have a routine, right? Maybe it's go over the person's LinkedIn profile and think about what you're going to say. And you have a few lines that bullet points that you keep in front of you. So you got to have that routine because that helps you, that energizes you and puts you into the right mental, emotional state. Like right before I'm going to walk up on stage, I have this routine. I always say to myself, well, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time, right?
Yes.
If the audience has a good time, that's their decision, okay? They have a choice. They can sit there and not have a good time, but I'm going to have a good time.
Yes.
And I always start my talk the same way, the same 4 words. People always ask me. I always start with that. And that goes right into people always like, what's it feel like going through to lay down on the sled and hurl yourself at 80 miles an hour? Man, by the time I get to the middle of that sentence, I'm in a groove because I've done it 1,000 times.
Yes.
And so it's doing the same thing. When you watch a tennis player, you'll notice that they always bounce the ball the same number of times before a serve.
Yes.
Yeah. And basketball players doing before a free throw, same thing.
Yes.
Right? Because it's a routine that that relaxes them and gets them to that perfect. Bullfighters, they do the same thing. I mean, I love bullfighting, and they strut around. They call it the matador walk, with their chest popped out. So figure out a routine that works for you, okay? Then if somebody trash talks you, ignore them.
That never happens. That never happens in the business world or athletic world. Come on.
Yeah, right. Just ignore them because if they're trying to psych you out because they're nervous, okay, and they're bullies, right? And so rather than get into their game, they want you to react because then, it's like they're like a John McEnroe, right?
Yes.
But no, you don't do that. You just ignore them and smile and don't respond. That's going to bug them like crazy. And then if your opponent is playing really well, like I'm playing ping pong with my brother, with my son all the time, and he gets a quarter if he beats me, and boy, that keeps him interested. I've got a friend. I don't know if you met Warwick. Warwick is.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Warwick. He played Wimbledon, and he actually coached some #1 players in the world. He coached Michael Chang in tennis, and he taught me this trick. He said, when your opponent's playing well and they make a good shot, compliment them. Tell them, man, that was a great shot. You were on today. You're playing so well. Well, you know what happens? That gets them overconfidence, and they get sloppy. They get down to that 4 level. You come across like a great sportsman, but you're messing them up. And so, when I'm playing with Grayson, my son, constantly, he just doesn't shut up. It's like, Ruben, you're playing well today. Dad, you're playing well. You just shut up already.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So it's like a reverse psych out, right?
Yes.
If you make a mistake, you're going to make mistakes, okay? If you're not making mistakes, that means you're not trying hard enough, okay? You better be making mistakes. But when you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Don't let it get you down, okay? In fact, walk with your head straight up and keep your eyes above the horizon. As soon as those eyes go below the horizon, you're getting down on yourself. And so Les Brown, a real famous speaker, says if you can look up, you can get up. And that is so true, right?
Yes.
So boxers, if you watch boxing, they're really good at that. I mean, when somebody hits a boxer really good, they immediately start trash talking. Says, "Is that all you got? Come on. Oh, my mama can hit harder than that, right?" And because they cannot let themselves accept that they just got hurt. Because if they do that, it's going to go downhill.
Yes.
And so be like that, right? When you mess up, when I played racquetball and I messed up, I'd say to myself, well, that's not like me. Come on, focus, relax, And so that's not like me.
Yes.
Come on, Ruben, that wasn't like you.
Yes.
Right? Instead of saying, oh, you idiot, you're always making these stupid shots. What's your problem? Man, if you say that to yourself, you're toast.
Yes.
Right? And
exactly
you control the game tempo, okay? Now, this sounds like sports stuff, but like Matt said, it's this applies to business big time, all right? Now, in sports like tennis or ping pong or racquetball, you can speed up or slow down the game between the points. So if you're tight and you're too stressed, you want to slow it down. If things aren't going your way and the other guy's, killing you, you want to slow it down so that they get off their game and you have time to relax a little bit, right? Take a few extra seconds. Yes. And on the other hand, if they're stressed and if you're doing well, speed up the game to mess them up even more, right? I mean, most of the game is won mentally.
Yes.
And
so
players do that all the time. And if you watch next time you watch Wimbledon or US Open or something like that, you'll notice that usually one player wins set 1. And then the other player, he'll make an adjustment. He'll talk to his coach. He'll make an adjustment. He'll change a couple of little things, and he wins the second set. And then the first player makes an adjustment and wins the third set. It goes back and forth because they're making adjustments. But if you don't adjust, you're going to lose, right? So if you're always getting the same results, then don't keep doing the same thing, right? If you have to know
insanity.
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to respond to all the different objections you're going to get if you're trying to sell something? You have to, how are you going to do it, right?
Yes.
And what are you going to say? And but how you're going to say it is important too, right?
You bet.
And have fun. Have fun. I mean, it's so funny. I told Don Akers. Don Akers is one of my. He's one of my guys. He's actually the guy that introduced Matt and I years ago.
Yes.
And Don, he just knows all. He's an expert at all this stuff. He was a boxer. He came one fight away from making the Los Angeles Olympic team. And anyways, he's an expert in hypnosis and in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and which means how your words program your mind, right? Condition your mind to work or not work. And he, I told him that, at this race I was having so much fun. He says, man, that's the secret sauce. You just keep smiling. If you can have fun, if you can keep smiling, you can't be stressed and have fun at the same time. You'll always be at your best. Just don't have too much fun.
That's true. Exactly.
Yeah. He's another guy I listen to all the time because he knows his stuff.
Yes.
And so that's my secret weapon, guys. I surround myself with people that know more than me, and I'm smart enough to listen to them. I submit myself to their leadership. And that doesn't mean I'm a doormat. It means I'm smart. That's it.
You bet. And I appreciate you sharing those. I've taken a ton of notes behind the scenes as you've been kind of rattling those off. Actually, I'll share the link to that specific article as well. And I think this is a fabulous way to end it with that have fun comment, because we're on a heck of a journey. We're on a heck of a ride. So you might as well enjoy it, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to do the best podcast possible here, obviously, right? Because if if we screw it up, and we screw them up too much, then no one's going to listen.
Right.
But can you tell we're having fun?
Yeah.
We're having fun, guys. If you guys decide to have fun, that's your decision. But Matt and I, we're going to have fun.
You bet we are. You bet we are. How many people get to record a podcast who get to interview somebody else? I mean, it's incredible the opportunities we have laid out in front of us. It's incredible if we choose to see it that way. So this is awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing those and not letting me get off before you did. And this is you're awesome, dude. I just again, I can't thank you enough, brother. Can't thank you enough.
All right. See you soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Ruben.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Right, see ya.